This is a recording of IMC Honorary Member Sean Rothery in conversation about his life spent climbing and mountaineering. Sean joined the IMC in 1948 and climbed with well-known climbers Frank Winders, Fred Maguire and Andrei Kobzinski. He talks about how he became interested in climbing and mountaineering and the inspiration for his books Here Comes the Mountainy Man, a memoir of his life, and The Long Walk South. Well known as a talented architect, Sean also wrote extensively about Irish architecture.
Yeah, well, the fact that I lived, my family's house was Woodside Road, which was only called Woodside Road in recent years. That was the road up to Barnacullia, which is the road that runs alongside the flanks of the Three Rock Mountain. So the Three Rock Mountain was my mountain, long before all the telegraph poles or electric sort of TV poles, communication poles were built. There were three big gigantic rocks. So my earliest experiences, even as maybe might have been only 7 or 8, I was the eldest in the family, and I would go all the way to the top of the Three Rock Mountain, climb those rocks. So that was my very first kind of climbing experience, I suppose, really.
Yeah. At a young age.
Yeah. And I don't know where I got the information, but about the age of 12, I wanted to climb the Sugarloaf, which we cycled to, myself and my 2 young brothers. And I wanted to do the North Face. Now, I have no idea where I heard about North Faces, because I was only about 12. So I can't understand. It might have been some comics I read that they talked about North Faces. But I didn't borrow, I stole my mother's washing line, and we wanted the 2 brothers. We did do the North Face up from Kilmechanic to the top of the Sugarloaf, and that was and I remember what's the famous writer's climber's name. He did the same thing. He's English. He climbed the Sugarloaf for his first. I'm sure I have his book there, but I can't remember his first name.
It was not Chris Bonington, no.
Yeah. Anyway, Sugarloaf is such an iconic mountain in many ways, and I remember doing that with the 2 brothers, and the 2 of them were much younger than me, and they did it along with me. So the 3 of us went up what I call the North Face. Now, we probably didn't do we went up the easiest way we could find, but we went up from Kilmechanic.
But there was probably no defined path up it at that time.
Yeah, we dumped our bikes. It just where there's a GAA club now, but that wasn't there then.
Yes.
It's just farmland, and we just dumped our bikes to the side of the road and went up. But there was no traffic then. When I was 12, it would have been 1940. Yeah, it would have been the war, and there'd be no cars.
Yeah. Then,
so that was my first real expedition.
And then when you went to UCD?
I went to UCD in 1947 from here, and did architecture. And when I was in second year, which would have been next year, my drawing board was beside Fred Maguire. And was Fred told me about the formation of the Irish Mountainneering Club with Joss Lynham and Bill Perrott, who were 2 ex-Indian Army. They were only interested in mountains, no interest whatsoever in anything military. Both Irish, and it was called the Indian Army. I think they tried to get as much time off as they could, and they did they didn't do any serious mountaineering in the Himalayas then, but that was their first interest in the Himalayas. And they came back to Ireland and formed the Irish Mountaineering Club. And Fred was one of the first members, and he told me about it, and I was very interested, but I didn't join. And I don't know why. I think the main reason I couldn't join, I had no money. I couldn't afford I was on a scholarship, so I couldn't. I probably didn't have enough money to pay the entrance fee. But I had a motorbike then, an old motorbike my dad bought for me from the army, an ex-army BSA, and he had a motorbike. So the 2 of us went out on a motorbike the following Sunday, and I think we saw the first descent of Pine Tree Buttress and Lugalaw.
Okay.
And I was absolutely fascinated. So I decided that's the sport for me. And within a couple of weeks, I think I finally did join the club, but probably not. I wasn't one of the founder members. But it was a very small club then.
Yes, but at that point wasn't Ireland not really a climbing destination. It was more the UK or the Alps. And
No,
they were only beginning to move into.
that's right.
To start climbing
Exactly.
in Ireland. And
Although it has to be remembered that there was climbing in Ireland long before the IMC, and Joss and Bill were the first to recognise that. There's a book called, I think I have it there somewhere. There was rock climbing in Barravore back in the 1930s, and there was a guy who was his brother was an IRA member at the time, one of the dissidents after the year when we became independent. He lived down at near Dundrum, and he was sort of he was I don't know whether he was a member of the IMC, but he was involved, and he always made the comment, I was climbing before ropes were invented.
Yeah.
And he was very good, actually, and he went on one of the trips that people did to the Alps. I don't remember him much. He didn't come with me. So there was rock climbing in the beginning, right from the beginning.
Okay.
Joss and Bill were both in favour of rock climbing.
Yeah.
And that, I tell in my book, the story of it might not have been the first dinner of the IMC, but it was the first time to Connemara.
Okay.
And the one where Andre went out to poach the salmon and get the hooch, and we had a big dinner not the Renville Hotel, in Linan Hotel.
Oh, so now, yes, yeah,
And
still there.
We were we weren't welcome after that, I can tell you. We were too rowdy. We were all very young.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, Andre was the most extraordinary character, and I don't know whether I did mention about him that I only found out now. He had two sisters. One is a half sister, so he had two women. So when he arrived in Ireland, I don't remember meeting him until he was here. He was a science student, I think, along with probably. I'm not sure whether he went to Trinity or UCD, but certainly there was an equal number of Trinity and UCD people in the early days of the IMC. So just like in England, where the big climbing was done by Oxford and Cambridge climbers, and after a while, when what was then really working class English, they became really good climbers. The Climbers Club decided they were very elitist in the early days, and some people, I mean, Paddy O'Leary was an old friend of mine. Paddy keeps saying that we were a bit elite. We weren't elitist the same way.
Yes.
We certainly couldn't be compared to Oxford and Cambridge.
Yeah.
And Paddy, Jane Fenlon, Jane's the sister, she was a member of but much later in the IMC. Paddy came in after me.
Yes.
But we were friends for a long, long time and still are.
Yes, yeah.
He's sitting beside me at the dinner.
Okay.
And his book is great book. I mean, it does do the history of Irish climbing very well.
It's a good book.
There's nothing. Yeah. The only thing I'd say about Paddy, and I've argued about him, but I've said to him where he has about Elizabeth Healy, then known as Betty Healy, he has her down as one of the best women rock climbers in Ireland. She wasn't one of the best women rock climbers in Ireland. She was one of the best rock climbers in Ireland. No gender. Yes. He shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
She frightened the shit out of me climbing, and I was good. And to see her and the way she could climb, she no fear whatsoever. To see her heading off.
Yeah.
I was the one that had the fear, and not Betty. She wanted to be known as Elizabeth. She was only interested in rock climbing. She wasn't interested in hill walking in the least. Yeah. She was a great character, and she only died 2 years ago.
Yes, yeah.
And she was 2 months older than me.
Yeah. But Andre and Fred,
they were old friends. When I finally joined, they more or less took charge of me. Yes. They were my mentors, the two of them. Yeah. And that's when I really enjoyed rock climbing, because I really climbed with them.
Yes.
And both of them were very good climbers, but Andre was superb. He was probably easily the best rock climber of the time. I mean, he did the famous white wall in the quarry,
yes.
which was his big climb. But then he was, his history is extraordinary. I've been in contact with his daughter
Yeah.
in London, and she tells me that I'm not sure whether he was Jewish or whether he was partly Jewish, but his name, the Gestapo had his name, and he was taken by them to be brought to Auschwitz. Now I'm not sure whether he was 14 or 16, and he escaped as a boy. He escaped from Auschwitz and made his way across Europe. I don't know how he did it, and got to England, where he joined the Free Polish Army. So his story is a fantastic story.
Yes.
And he's a real I talk about his character in very much as I did at this thing. He was his wartime story was amazing.
Yes.
Driving the ammunition truck day after day under Monte Cassino, being fired on from the. Yeah. He could have been blown to bits any time, and and he was in college with me, with at the same time as me, and Fred, and after the war they were all given not scholarships, grants from the British Army to come to college. So and I'm not sure whether it was UCD or Trinity. I have a feeling somehow that he was in Trinity.
Yes.
But we all knew each other through the club.
Yeah.
There's no difference between the two. Mm. So that's where I met. And Frank Winter was, of course, also he was a founder member.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't in Trinity. He was working for a chemistry company. He was. We were all graduated then. By then I was graduated as well. I graduated in 1951, and Peter Kenny, and Andre, and Frank. We were all graduates.
Yes, yeah, together.
Yeah, we all got together. Yeah. But it was only for a brief couple of years. I mean, Fred was killed in that extraordinarily tragic thing, having fallen into Ireland's Eye, and got concussion, and obviously his sister on going to the Alps. And for an inexplicable reason, he just slipped on an easy slope on the Mountainneering Glacier.
Yeah.
Fell into a shallow crevasse, and he was dead when they found him. And it was purely because he was still suffering from concussion.
Obviously,
because he fell badly in Ireland's Eye on rocks,
Yes.
But he was the kind of character. He was completely different to his pal Andre. The two of them, you couldn't be chalked, and yet they were both real friends. This is really sad. Story of those two.
And were they developing climbing techniques at that stage?
They would have
or were
been,
they been learning from others that they had met on crags? And
no, the funny thing about it is, we were all I was only shortly after both but Frank and Peter Kenny were considered, and Andre at the time, he would have been. I wouldn't have put Fred Maguire as a top rock climber. I don't remember him being that good, although I did climb with him. I was on the first descent of Expectancy with them, but I would think Andre led that.
Yes.
And that was an easy climb anyway. And I do remember that was my first climb in Camaraderie, which I really enjoyed. But we were all more. There was another man, of course, at the time called John Morrison, and he came a little bit after me. So there were a couple of others. He very quickly emigrated, but he was also on. My first alpine trip was to Chamonix, and it was it wasn't. My first alpine trip was Tyrol. I went to Austrian Alps with Frank Butler and Brendan Moss, and we climbed everything in sight. I found it all very easy. But my first big climb was in Chamonix with Frank and Peter Kenny. We tried to do the second ascent of the northwest ridge of the Charmoz, which had been done by the famous book called The First 8,000er, which I think was Annapurna, and the four top French climbers, all guides, I think, were Rébuffat, Gaston Rébuffat, Lionel Terre. They were the two. Probably the best alpinists in the world at the time, and then a guy called Schatz and Thierry. I can't remember the other two, and those two did the first ascent of the northwest ridge of the Charmoz, and Frank And Peter and I decided we were going to try and do the second ascent, which is really ridiculous. We were nothing like as experienced to do a climb like that.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And we were over 30 hours on it. And
Wow.
as we climbed it, we met a couple of English climbers. One of them was, oh God, I've forgotten his name. I have his book. I got friendly with him later. And we decided, all five of us, to join up, which was ridiculous because a rope of 5
Yes.
on really hard rock climbing was madness. And we got near the top, and I can't remember who was in front at that stage. I think one of the English climbers. And we were all more or less together, the 5 of us. And he was very near the summit, and there was a very loose rock, and you had to pendulum across to it.
Wow.
And he decided it was too dangerous. And at that stage, it was getting become nightfall almost.
Yes.
We were already 12 hours or something on the mountain, or more. And we decided to abandon it. And we started abseiling down, but got caught by darkness. I was in front. I was the first one to abseil down. And I felt it was really dangerous. There was rocks coming down as well. And I said, this is ridiculous.
Yes.
We'll have to stay. There was a ledge just
Yes.
above us. And the 5 of us stayed on the sledge. Now we had to put pitons in
Yes.
to tie ourselves on. And we stayed there on the ledge until dawn. And the next morning, we looked down and we saw this party coming up to the early part of the glacier. We decided this must be a rescue party. Now, little did we know the French couldn't give a shit about climbers. It was the Alps. Chamonix was called the Dortoir d'Anglais, the English dormitory, because we were the first Irish there.
Yes.
And the English climbers were notorious for being bivouacking.
Yes.
And nobody cared about rescue. So we said, we'll climb down and we'll ignore them, and they might leave us alone. But we abseiled all the way down the mountain, all 5 of us. And of course, we passed the group. There were army cadets, all looking very glum, climbing up the Mountainneering Glacier. They ignored us and we ignored them. And we went down onto the first bit of grass. We all went to sleep. I think we were 30 hours on that.
Wow, it's a long time, and cold and
It
hungry.
was crazy. We were too inexperienced, although we very nearly made it.
Yes, yeah.
That was my first Chamonix.
Yeah.
And I went back to Chamonix again another year.
Mm.
But then that's next year, 52, was when I think Fred died. And 53 was when Andre died. And I don't know whether you have the original IMC journals.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
Frank was not a literary person, and he gave a very flat and unimagined kind of story of how the accident happened. But it's all just climb by climb. But it was a terrible thing. I mean, it was the old story, using old ropes.
Yes.
For instead of cutting your, we had to, those days. You didn't have all the gadgets they had nowadays, or even later. We would have had nylon ropes. Nylon ropes just about came in.
Yes.
So we started with climbing with hemp ropes.
Yes, yeah.
Which were horrible things to climb with.
Yeah.
They got wet and were really grim. And we were starting to get gear. Now, not much. There was very little.
Mm.
There was a kind of a thing about early rock climbers glorying in their torn clothes.
Yes.
Whereas now you'd pay €1,000 to put gear on.
Yeah.
We didn't do that. We were it was kind of, you felt a bit, it wasn't hippie, it was a bit hippie.
Yes, yeah.
And you kind of gloried in that fact.
Yes,
so
yeah.
That was, and we all smoked, of course.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So, but
you were climbing with hemp though, with it tied around your waist.
Yeah, but not only only very early.
Yes.
I got one of the first nylon ropes.
Yes.
And Brendan Moss and Frank Butler I think they were both founder members.
Yeah.
Both of them are long gone. Frank died in Ireland. Brendan went to Canada and was there for a long, long time. You think he's probably gone by now. And the only reason that I went with them to the Tyrol, they'd already been once.
Yeah.
And the only reason they brought me was I had a nylon rope.
Go away, yeah, yes, yeah. And like, were you kind of remembering when the harnesses came in and you started using nuts and things like that?
Yes, we said, yeah. The harness hadn't come in.
Yeah.
It was always just tied around the way. But our very first, early on, we used pitons, but very early on we realised that it wasn't a thing to do.
Yeah.
But big old climbs sometimes in Wales, the pitons were there, you know.
Yes, yeah.
In various places, but we certainly didn't. I think it was the two guys. I think it was what's his name? The two Joe Brown and John Willems.
Mm.
I think they were the first to start to do it. Now I think we were experimenting with nuts, and you file them out to make sure they didn't cut the rope.
Oh, yes.
And I do remember we actually did experiment with wire as well.
Yes.
But mostly it would have been rope.
Okay. Yeah.
Thinner rope.
Yes.
With nuts.
Yeah.
And there were the runners. But we were very good about doing runners. I mean, we had very few rock climbing accidents in Ireland then.
Mm.
I think there still are very few rock climbing accidents, as far as I know. I don't think anybody's been killed in Ireland. Now, I do know that Northern John White's he was mentor of a young Scottish lad, or young Northern Ireland lad that was climbing with us in the Poison Glen, and he was killed almost the following year in Scotland. And we had good belay. We were actually, Joss was very good and Bill Perrott as the two mentors of the club, and telling people they knew all about techniques.
And you were conscious of safety and
but very conscious of safety was very big.
Yes.
We didn't really take chances.
Yes.
I mean, as I told you, except the little adventure, the big adventure we had in Chamonix at the time.
Yeah.
We were kind of big-headed. We thought we'd be able to do anything, you know. We couldn't.
But then were you moving around and climbing a lot then in Glendalough at that point?
We used to go, The first climbing I remember I did probably was Glendalough. That became my place. Mm. And I did. There were very few. There was, God, I've forgotten the names of the famous gully. What's the name of the gully that's on the face to the left? The main face has Scimitar, Nightmare,
yes,
Spillican.
Yeah.
But to the left is a nice climb up. One of the earliest climbs. Yeah. You cross over and you go up a little something or other gully it's called.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of it.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't on the first ascent of that.
Yeah.
I did the first free ascent of Scimitar, although Frank Winder top roped it.
Yes.
Frank and I did the first up to the ledge, and he led it, but Peter Kenny gave him a top rope, and the following weekend I led it. So I led it for the first time up Scimitar, and before that was Nightmare. I don't know who led that for the first time, not me.
Yes.
And then Spillican became the big
one,
crown jewels of climbing. When you think about it, we were all standing on top of that Spillican. Could have gone when we were on it, you know.
Yeah.
Now the four of us on that were Peter Kenny, Frank Winder, Paul Hill, and me.
Yes.
Paul died in New Zealand, you know, in a terrible drowning accident. And Paul was a very good climber. Paul's Edge is called in the quarry.
Yes.
That's a nice little sort of what would you call a slab climb, you know?
Yes, yeah.
But Paul and I led alternate the first couple of pitches on that, and then the Breed Crooks pitch. Frank tried it and failed on it, and then Pete Kenny did it, and he was triumphant about doing that.
Yes, yeah.
And then the rest was followed. We found it very hard then. That was the hardest climb in Ireland then at that stage.
Yeah.
You know.
But the quarry would have been very popular.
The quarry
as well,
was
yeah.
very popular, and now I can't believe in the last few years when I went there and see how much the vegetation had grown, you know. But we had it became our, and there was every. Now the thing is, I had to work. I mean, even when I was in college, we had to work on Saturday morning. So very often, when you went into it, we worked often on Saturday morning. So Saturday afternoon we go. That became our mecca, you know.
Yes.
Every weekend we climbed there.
Yeah.
So most of the things were done then, including some. But I mean, Andre did the famous White Wall, you know, which is Hyperion and Helios.
Yeah.
And that was considered top sort of slab climbing.
Yeah, and of
there
course,
was a steep slab.
I suppose compared to now, it would have been actually different, nearly the surface of it, and
Yeah, it would. I think a lot of
roads.
things like that would have been different. Yeah. I mean, my favourite climb was CB, Central Buttress.
Yes.
And I was one of the few people that could do the first move.
Yeah.
Without getting a lift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I know.
I was very happy with the fact that I could get out, like kind of climbing up onto a mantelpiece, you know.
Yes.
But I love that
Yeah.
rock climb. I found it very easy.
Yeah.
It was always very spectacular.
Ah, yes, yeah, it is, yeah.
So that became my favourite one. And then there was a few other. There was the famous the limits, and that was the limits. Yeah, they were favourite. They were easy climb, nice slab climbs. They were very easy. We did pretty well everything. I don't remember that I did any real first ascents.
Yes.
I think I did one with Frank Winder on the western side of the quarry.
Yes.
I think there was one there that I can't remember the name of it, but I think it was the first ascent that Frank and I did. That was the only one that I was done.
Yeah.
I do remember I did Tower Ridge, which is of course the easy traverse thing, you know.
Yes, yeah.
But I did that unroped, blindfolded.
Really?
This is the kind of stunts we used to do.
Wow.
Now, I'm afraid we were kind of some of the stunts we used to do. I mean, Camadary now, nearly all had motorbikes.
Yeah.
I know Frank and Peter Kenny. Fred had died at that stage, and Noel Masterson. We nearly all had motorbikes.
Yeah.
So after a day's climbing, we had the Camadary Grand Prix, which was drive back to Bill Per's house on Clonliffe Road. After a few drinks in the Royal Hotel.
But then the hut, the IMC hut, must have been a great advantage there.
It was.
It gave you a base then to work
I don't remember using it much.
Yeah.
Because, see, I had a motorbike.
Yes, yeah.
And it didn't take that long to get down by motorbike down to Glendalough. But it was only in later years when I come back from Africa that with my own family, Nuala was a very good rock climber. She was extremely good, and she didn't like it. She didn't like rock climbing. She loved hill walking.
Yes.
But as a rock climber, she was superb.
Yeah.
She seconded me on climbs that other people would have found difficulty, you know, when we went to the Coolans in Scotland.
Yes.
She seconded me on a couple of very hard climbs where we got caught by storms. And she seconded me on that very hard climb on Ben Cor, which is, what's it called? Is it seventh heaven, is it? Do you know about rock climbing in Ben Cor?
I think that's it. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And it's really hard. And a dangerous climb because the belaying is very difficult.
Yes.
And I very foolish of me because we were married at that stage. We had a small child. She seconded me on that.
Yeah.
Now, she'd never have been able to hold me if I'd fallen, but
yes, yeah.
We did a few sort of quite dangerous things.
Yes,
like that,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But she was like a lot of women. I do remember there were other women as well that could be good rock climbers, you know.
Yeah.
But Elizabeth Healy was way ahead of everybody.
But it was a close-knit group, though.
It was very close-knit. We all knew each other, yeah. And we were a bit elitist, now, I must say, about the rock climbers. Because some of us were more elitist than others. Pete Kenny used to talk about the handbag and nylon brigade, which was hill walkers, usually.
Yes, yeah.
He was a bit of a misogynist, actually, was Peter Kenny. He was a difficult character, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
He fell out with his old friend Frank Winder for some reason.
Yeah.
And when he went to America, he was a professor of physics in big university in America. He died relatively young,
Yes.
whereas Frank only died a few years after. Joss died. Nuala died in 2013. Joss died about 2 years later than that. And I think Frank. I remember Frank. Frank was he was a very difficult character. I could never say we were friends, but we were climbing friends, and in many ways, he became professor of biochemistry in Trinity very early on, and he when I used to go out with him a lot, and we camped, and he always had scientific abstracts with him.
Yes.
He'd be reading his scientific stuff. It was only after he died, when there was a memorial service for him in Trinity, a year after he died, and he had an astounding reputation as a researcher, not as a teacher. Because one of my other friends was a student, and she said he was terrible. He was a terrible lecturer, but he was a very good. His research, and he's world famous for some of the papers he did.
Yes, plant life in particular.
Yeah, he was. He was really.
The mountains was an interesting.
He was a very dedicated character.
Yes.
And he was a notorious miser. Even though, I mean, he had he must have had a really good salary as a professor, you know.
Yes, yeah. I
told the story of him. The 40th anniversary of the IMC was in the Tetons in America, and Mona Monaghan, who was one of the founder members. No, she wasn't actually. I thought she was one of the founder members, but in fact I think I was there before her.
Yes.
But she came in shortly after me.
Yeah.
Now Mona, who's a fantastic character, she's virtually nearly my age. She is my age, roughly, and she's a widow now for a long time. She lives on a big spread somewhere in New England, and she was over here the year before last, I think.
She does come back.
She comes back and forward, yeah. And I get on well with her. But in her younger days, she was she would have been part of what I think it was Kenny dreamed up the title of the Morals Committee. There was a Morals Committee in the IMC, and in fact, with their first camping expedition, I wasn't on it, but I gather it was in the very first couple of months, and they went out camping, and the women camped in a different field to the men. So it was like that, and they couldn't put their tents up, and they came over for help, seemingly to Joss, and Joss decided no, none of us are going to help them, and he was dead right, of course. But then he married Nora, and Nora would have been one of the founder members as well, but there was a bit of a thing going on about the Morals Committee, and there was a particularly obnoxious character, I can't remember his name now, and he was a bit of a busybody, telling people there shouldn't be any sharing in tents. You had to be married before you could share a tent. I mean, it's hilarious, really. If you tell young people nowadays what was going on in those days, they wouldn't believe you. I'm sure you remember stories.
Yeah.
Anyway, the early history. But we were all very close, so we all knew each other.
Yeah.
That was one of the main things. We were a very small club.
Yeah.
And Joss was a great character, a great leader. And he wasn't a good rock climber, and he knew he wasn't.
Yes.
But he would do all sorts of stunts. We went out for a hill walk. He'd say, we only walk in a straight line now down from this mountain. We won't deviate, even if we have to go through a house.
Yes,
he did things like that, you know.
When you think about it, I suppose, it was the early days of navigation and map reading.
It was,
It was,
and compass,
knowing how to kind of navigate your way across the
mountain. And if
mountain.
you met anybody on the mountain, it's somebody you knew.
Yeah.
Whereas now that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, well, this is it. And it's when you look at the Wicklow Mountains now, it's probably almost impossible nearly to get lost. Exactly. They'll always pick up a track somewhere. Exactly. Far from the road.
And you'd be searching. You mean it's a long time now it's a couple of years now since I could get out in the mountains, but you could find routes that there's nobody on.
Yes.
But if you went on any of them, you'd meet hundreds of people.
Yes. Yeah.
But the Sphinx now, for instance, when the Sphinx was done first. that's the reason they put in the boardwalk was
Boardwalk.
it got so eroded, you know.
Yes, yeah.
And that was good. And you could go on that now in the early days and not meet anybody. Now it's like a Count Street,
Yes.
you know.
And you've done the lug walk,
Which
the one from Bonabrina over to Lug and back.
no, I didn't know the big lug. What we called the lug walk started from the Stone Cross.
Okay,
Yeah.
from Arthur,
And then went over Mulcleavon and then all the way to Lug. That was the lug walk.
Okay.
And of course the famous thing to do then, Niall Rice I think was one of the first. He wasn't a good rock climber, but he was a terrific hill walker. And they did the double.
Okay.
To do the double in 24 hours became the big thing.
Right.
But I did, the first time I did it was in early winter. It was in snow on most of it, you know.
Good.
But we always enjoyed that. That was a really big walk. But people, there were big, the ones who are only part-time rock climbers, they keep some of the hard men walkers.
Yes.
And Jane Fenlon's husband, Tom Fenlon, he was one of the top walkers at the time, you know. Tom unfortunately died of dementia. But he would do. But then again, when you come to think of it, they weren't the first. I mean, famous Hart did the walks, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, we weren't the very first climbers in Ireland, you know.
But you were among the first almost.
We were the first serious club. We were the first ones to call it a sport. I mean, there was the group. I think Connor, the famous. What the heck was his name? He became. He had a boat. He did a lot of sailing. I remember his second name in a minute. But they had a group called the Friends of Lug.
Okay.
Yeah, the Friends of Lug was a kind of a group, and they did climb Lug Macilla. Okay. This is back in the early 20s, maybe, or even before that, you know.
Yes, yeah.
But they weren't really an organised climbing group.
Yes, yeah.
Well, we were the first club.
Yeah.
And very early on, the great thing was very early on, at the Belfast section.
Yeah.
That was the great thing. I was quite surprised when I went to the 75th anniversary dinner and all the Northerners turned up.
Yes, there was
I didn't know it was still going strong. It's great.
Yeah. And did you have much kind of encounter with them? Did you
no,
there
was two of them sitting beside near me and I chatted with them, but all my old friends in the north are all older, gone, or else old.
The ones that you would have climbed with.
One of those we climbed with, yeah. Although there's still Phil Gribben is still going strong, and I often ask about him. And my friend Ken Mawhinney, who's a northerner, I think he might have been in the IMC for a short while. Yeah. He's a friend of Phil Gribben. Phil Gribben would have been nearly my age, nearly my age, and we went up there a lot. I mean, we'd go up to it was called the Bloat House, you know, up in that beyond Hannah Long, and that was, and it's interesting that when orienteering started, there was a very close connection between the north and the south.
Yes,
and us, you know, in the Irish orienteering, and all the early Irish orienteering people were climbers, were walkers,
Okay.
And they got a big surprise. We were the first orienteering expedition was down in Glendalough.
Yes.
Race, and the climbers all turned up. We soon sort all these walkers, and of course they all got lost because the orienteers were a good mixture of runners and who were good at navigation.
Yes.
And very early on that developed, you know, particularly my two sons.
Yeah.
My two sons wouldn't go rock mountaineering because of my accident, you know, in the Alps.
Yes, yeah.
And they both became Irish champion orienteers. And the accuracy of navigation in orienteering is something else. Yeah. You know, it has to be within 5 meters.
But that accident that you had, it didn't have a long-term effect on your driving.
It only had the long. Well, it had in many ways. I never wrote entirely about that. Although my long walk south, I do have a bit of a bit.
Yes.
But I was 3 years out of action.
Yes.
2 periods of 4 months, I was in a spike of plaster.
Wow.
I was lucky not to be dead.
Yes. Yeah.
In fact, I mean, it was a really serious accident.
Mm.
And my friend Peter Short was one of the people who rescued me. And unfortunately, Peter is now seriously in dementia. and he's 15 years younger than me. You know, it's really sad to see him.
Yeah.
And he was the one who, he and one other, and then the English guy, who was the guide for the English clumsy climber that caused the accident, pulling down the big boulder.
Yes.
I mean, I was 8 hours on the mountain. It was the Alpubal, you know, which is quite a high mountain, but a nasty mountain. I shouldn't have been on it. I was the one that was leading it.
Yes.
And it was a mistake. And but anyway, I was 3 years in Kappa between 2 major operations, 4 months in spica-plaster, then the whole year in between walking on 2 crutches. My leg wouldn't knit, and they decided to do a bone graft on me. So it was another 4 months in the spica-plaster. So it was 3 years altogether before I could walk again. And I was told by the surgeons at the time to wear a built-up shoe on my left foot, left leg, and use a stick.
Yes.
I was only 39 at the time of the accident.
Wow.
And I was probably a bit to early 40s when I left, and I did none of that. And 2 years after my accident, I was back on the Alps, in the same place actually, in Zermatt.
Yeah.
No, I didn't do anything hard.
Yeah.
I remember I was with Paddy O'Leary, and Paddy had a great reputation. He was leader then, and Paddy had a great reputation. If you came with him and you didn't obey getting up at a certain time, he'd leave you, you know.
Yes.
And I knew Paddy's too well, and I knew that as soon as his time, it was a nice, easy mountain we climbed, and he started. It was still pitch dark, and I knew Paddy would be on the way, so I joined Paddy, and the two of us started up the glacier on our own, and then saw the string of several others trying to catch us up, and a couple of them did. And I remember the mountain we climbed. We had too many of us had ropes, and we had this big couloir to climb, simple couloir to climb near to the summit. It's an easy mountain, and we put one of the coiled ropes at the end of the couloir, and we got to the top, and we were sitting enjoying ourselves in the sun, and a helicopter came over us, a rescue helicopter, and the guy wanted to know what was the rope down below doing, you know. And we had to signal to him that we're okay, you know, okay, don't worry about it. The rope will do this, and he just signaled to us and went off. You know. I do remember that, but Paddy could be ferocious to go with on a trip, but I knew Paddy too well.
Yes, yeah. He was anxious to get going.
Yeah, he wouldn't tolerate, and he would tolerate no nonsense, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Coming back, but but I didn't do anything serious.
After that, you just
Although, funnily enough, when I come to think of it, Mont Blanc was more serious. I did Mont Blanc when I was 73, you know. So that was.
Oh yeah.
I remember one of my last day was 15 hours.
Yes.
You know, because we couldn't. I went to Robbie Fenlon, and you know, Robbie was one of the Irish team on Everest, IMC, and Peter Short and I went to Robbie, and I think we were. You couldn't. Have you climbed Mont Blanc?
No, not.
Yeah.
Well,
we found it difficult. It was always very difficult to get into the Dom hut. It was always booked out weeks in advance. You couldn't even sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
But Robbie was working as a guide then in Chamonix. So I mean, he was he was long established in Chamonix, and he knew about the Valo Refuge.
Yeah.
And we went straight up and stayed in the Valo Refuge, which is a freezing cold place. And we were ahead of the posse coming up from below, and I didn't find anything really difficult about it, except for it was just so long. You know?
It's a long time on the mountain, and then you got the weather window.
I was on my backside coming down the last snow slope because I was so tired.
Really,
but it was there's no great technical difficulty on it.
Yeah.
So
it's just I think it's a weather window. Really.
The weather is the dangerous thing,
and that's if you get that, you're okay.
And the famous couloir, of course, you know, where what's his name, Travis, who was also IMC and orienteering, he was killed. Yes. He took off his helmet just when he across the couloir, and a stone fell, knocked down the couloir, but on him.
Yes, but it's
killed him.
And it's getting more dangerous.
He was
now.
a young lad, you know. I remember him well. He got very much involved in orienteering. A lot of all the early orienteers were climbers.
Yes, yeah.
It was only then that it started to develop the I suppose hill walkers would have been, and then people were just attracted to the sport as like my two sons, you know.
Yeah, but then you probably remember when the beginnings of Mountaineering Ireland and the rescues when that.
Oh yeah, we were the first. We were the first. Actually, it was Bill Perrott and Joss. They bought a proper climbing stretcher, and we did. There's a film of us. We did exercise on the rock, which was only last week, going past it down the Rocky Valley.
Yes,
the one that has the statue in the corner, grotto, little grotto.
Yes.
That was done after us, I think. Yeah. we did. I remember Noel Masterson was the first to volunteer to be the patient.
Yes,
and we had the lowering the stretcher, and we did the mountain rescue. Brendan Walsh always said that we didn't get the credit for being the big first mountain rescue people.
Yes.
The present mountain rescue people are prepared to say that we had nothing to do with it, that they were the first to do, whereas the IMC did.
The IMC was the first to
and the first two big rescues we did was, the first one was the UCD student who was killed on Lugnacilla winter time, and the two students.
Yeah.
And the what do you call it, the civil defence and the guards went out to try and find the bodies and couldn't. To look at as usual mist.
Yes.
And there was no Irish helicopters then.
Yeah.
So a helicopter came over from Valley, an RAF helicopter came over to help, and it couldn't go up the mountain because of the mist. And we were called on, and we knew exactly where the first body would be. The first body was found in the Glen of Amall, the young lad.
Yes.
And he was sitting on a rock with a sandwich in his hand, and he was dead.
Wow.
And we all knew exactly where to find the young woman.
Yes.
It was under the north face.
Yeah.
And we found her within no time at all. We went straight up to the north face. She was dressed in she had Wellington boots and Narran sweater, no windproof, and she was stone dead.
Yeah, hypothermia.
And we brought the body down and put it into the helicopter, and the helicopter was down at the base of the mountain. And that was our first rescue. The second one was more dramatic. It was this party of English schoolboys. Now, there were senior schoolboys on Carntool English, and one of them wandered off and wasn't accounted for, and they thought they couldn't find him. Again, the same thing, lots of mist, and nobody had any experience. Civil defence and guards in Kerry, they had no experience whatsoever how to find anybody on the mountains. So the call went out to us to Joss. Actually, Joss was already beginning to establish the name, of the IMC, and we left. A group of us left. I remember Peter Short, Pat Colleran, and I were together, and then Joss and a few others, about 3 or 4 cars. We left Dublin at midnight, and now it was during the summer, I think, and we drove all the way down to Kerry, and we went, and we knew exactly where he would have been found. So I can't remember now what you'd call it. It was the Beankira side of Carntool, and it was, I think, Pat Colleran who first spotted. He was wearing an anorak. The anorak, it wasn't a very bright anorak, but it was blowing in the wind.
Okay.
And he spotted it. He said, that's him there. And what he had done, he just tried to go down the steep face and fell and got caught stopped on a ledge. And Peter Short and I went up. I think it was Pat and I went up first, and we couldn't. It was pretty terrible, actually. We couldn't. He was rigor mortis. His arms were sticking out. Couldn't move them. And there's no rope, of course. They were just hill walking. and I think we just had to drop him.
Yeah.
I wasn't far down to get him.
Yes.
But we found him in no time. Within an hour or two of arriving down at what's his name, Cronin's Yard.
Yeah, you went up from there.
We knew exactly where it could have happened because there was only steep ground,
Yes, yeah.
So I mean, we were the only crowd that knew anything about the mountains.
Yeah.
Civil defence guards knew nothing about the mountains. They wouldn't have gone on them,
Yeah, and of course it's still very much the same way today, isn't it? The guards will call the mountain rescue.
And now, of course, they're all so well organised. But I wish they'd give credit.
Yes.
And poor Brendan now is a tough guy, and Brendan used to ring me regularly to give out stink about not getting credit for it, because he was one of the early mountaineers. Yeah. Brendan was a very good rock climber as well, but he took to the drink and the food. Brendan was quite a character. He had the famous brothers, one of his brothers, younger brothers, is the one who wrote the book Elon about the kayak, all the islands.
Yeah.
And but Brendan was a super rock climber. He seconded me on a couple of big climbs in Wales, and he was completely, he was really fit. Yes. But he soon lost all that. He got interested in food and drink.
So that kind of gets us on to a long walk south.
Yeah.
And the inspiration for that, or what drove you to do the long walks?
As I said, have you got the book? Have you read it?
Yes, I know.
Well, I mean, I
know the story, but
I told the story. The story is really that I found it. I liked my job. The idea of having to retire, or be retired at 65, to me, was just ridiculous.
Yes.
No, I had other things to do. I was a professional architect. I went on being an architect until I was 83. And I was already writing at that stage anyway. But I really liked my academic. I liked my academic job. It was really great. I enjoyed it. Was, compared to the responsibility of being an executive architect, which is really hard work and very responsible. Academia, I enjoyed academia. I enjoyed students, and I enjoyed research. I discovered rediscovered that research really suited me, And when we had to do this course. No, we didn't have to do it. It was course put up for all the people on in the DIT at the time. It was a DIT, I think.
Yes.
They were going to have to retire, and we were told useful stuff about finance and all the rest of it, which was useful. And I remember we had a great psychologist who used to do the work for the architectural school earlier on, and she said, put up your hands, all those of you who are retiring, are looking forward to retirement. So naturally, we all put our hands up. We couldn't say we were not. Say it was defeatist to say that you weren't. So we all most up. But then few didn't, and only the few hands went up, and they were so sad,
Yes.
Could see that that wasn't their thing. And we got this doctor then. He really pissed me off completely. Yeah. He was in his 40s.
Yes.
And I describe him as overweight. He probably was a bit overweight, but he was so patronising about everybody over 65.
Yeah.
And to take the walk down the Dundee Pier every day if you could, it was good for us, And then he made the classic thing is that he could piss over a wall, over a ditch, where we couldn't. And I told it in my book, I said, well, I got this wonderful dinner in lunch in this wonderful French restaurant. Most French restaurants were terrible, but this one was terrific. And I drank a bottle of wine and came out. And as I said, I had another 3-hour walk to do. And then I tried to have a pee, and he said the bastard was right. So he really annoyed me.
Yeah.
And that's, I'd already decided what to do.
Yes.
I planned my.
But that was
I was going to do something big.
Yes.
And I think it was what the heck is the name of it? I said it in it. The famous writer wrote that. Well, he didn't do the 3 volumes. He only did 2. Walking to Constantinople. Yes. Anyway, the name is in a beautiful book, beautifully written, and that enthused me. And also a guy who did. he did the GR5 in the early days,
Yes.
although most was changed when I did it. And he wrote a very nice book. He's very good. I can't remember his name now. He's a very good writer on long distance walks. So I wasn't the first to do that, but I discovered that not very many people did the GR5 from Hook of Holland.
Yes.
They mostly did the French Alpine section, which is 30 days. Most people thought that was the GR5.
Yeah.
But I wanted something big.
So you were going to start with the Low Countries and do all of them.
And in a way, the book was more than just about walking. My book, I said that story. My book, because when there was a new edition of it published, the Con Collins of Collins Press.
Yes.
He wanted to change the title. He wanted it to be called a guide to the GR. Mine was not a guide to the GR5. I wanted mine to be a memoir, really.
Yes.
And the Long Walk South was a metaphor for me looking for my lost youth. My youth was gone.
Yeah.
And by walking south, you were walking into the warmer climate.
Yes.
And that was now some people saw that and other people didn't.
Yeah.
But I wrote it in diary form because I kept a journal of it. But the book is not a guide. I don't describe every inch of it. And only
where you stayed
and
what food you had.
And any difficulties I might have had. But and the places I went through, I did have. So in a way, it was sort of a guide, but it wasn't really. The first really good guide was these two Americans.
Yes.
And I mentioned them in it. In fact, I was in contact with them, and telling them how much I really liked their book. Yeah. But the route had changed completely when I did it.
Yeah.
It was, the French are very good at their routes, you know.
Yeah.
The French
waymarks and that.
Grand Randonnées, they were by far the best in the world in those days. I mean, it was so well done. It was terrific what they did. You know, they were doing those kind of routes long after anybody else was doing them. You know, it was great. So that was the reason I did it, and I just wanted. I had to retire. No, I wasn't really retiring from life.
Yes, yeah.
But I didn't want to leave academia. I would have been a good teacher, I think, and I kind of resented the fact that you had to. But I also resented the fact of being told that I was past it.
Oh yeah. And I suppose there was a number of reasons they gave you then. I mean, the fact that you're not past it.
Yeah, exactly.
You can still do it.
Yeah.
And again, it's probably you hadn't done it before.
Yeah,
It's something new for you to do and manageable.
Yeah. And I'd my accident was long past.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that again.
Yes.
But I also didn't. I mean, I didn't want to sort of do a big climb somewhere in the Himalayas. Although when I went to the Himalayas, it was different. It was a much easier thing. We did mainly a walk.
Yeah.
But it was. But I actually, but by then, I don't know whether that would have been. I'm 66. Yeah, no. So my kids would have been still in Ireland at the time. They only went to Australia and New Zealand. So my big New Zealand walks were after that.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
But Nuala and I did some of we did nearly all the big walks in New Zealand. You know. Yeah. The Rootburn Track. We did the Rootburn Track when I was 80. We did the Heapy Track.
Yeah.
When I was 75, and I did the Abel Tasman thing when I was 85.
Yes, yeah.
So
you weren't inspired to write about them.
No, at that stage, you know, I think I'd done enough in terms of walks, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
And as the Long Walk South, the argument I had with Con Collins was he wanted to change the title to An Irishman's Trek on the GR5.
Yeah.
And I said, no. I said, the Long Walk South, everybody liked the title Long Walk South, and it's a better title in many ways for a book. So we compromised with it, kept the title Long Walk South, and then said the subtitle was An Irishman's Trek on the GR5. Because you see, that he was doing these terrific guides.
Yes, yeah.
And he wanted me, and putting the guide thing in would increase the sales, you know.
Yeah.
So I was a bit, sort of bit bulgy about that, you know, that I didn't want the title changed, but he was right in terms of sales.
Yes, yeah,
you know.
yeah. I mean, he is printing a lot of that
exactly.
material.
But unfortunately, Con decided to retire, and he was a very good publishing company. You know, he was really great, and some of his books are lovely.
Yes, they are.
In Cork, you know, he was the best.
Yeah. And then said, look, you know, here comes the Mountaineering Man. That's
Well, now the title has nothing to do with the mountains.
Yeah.
It was the fact of arriving into Sing Street School as an 11-year-old from Barnacullia. Barnacullia would have been seen, this whole area, as out of Mongolia. By the Dubliners. It would have been seen as the Wild West. And it was considered to be a very poor place, you know, which it was actually in the early days of stonecutters being out of work for maybe 6 months on end, you know. So different now. But when I went into Sing Street, the Christian brother, it was Brother Creed, I remember, because he was the only Christian brother I liked. I had Eamon, was my younger brother. I had him by the hand. He was only 9, and the two of us were taken into this prison yard, is the only way to describe it, Sing Street, from the little school down below here, which is great. And he said, "Here comes the Mountaineering Man," because he knew where he came from, you know. And that was the reason I gave it that title.
Yeah. So certainly, I mean, when you look at your whole, what you've achieved of your life, what's been, you know, the big...
I thought of that recently. What are the two great... I certainly was one of the great moments of my life was when I went with Peter Short. Peter Short, my Sherpa was Dan O'Reilly. He wasn't a Sherpa so much as the Rai. He was a Sherpa in terms of what they did. And then Roddy... Robbie Fenton and Peter and I, we were our group was a big group that went on the Himalayan thing. We did the trek, the 12-day trek from Jiri all the way up past Luca. We didn't fly into Luca, all the way up to Kalapatar in the Himalayas, and the others all got very sick at various altitude sickness, various things. And it was just left Peter and I, and were left with Robbie and Dan O'Reilly, who was the Sherpa, our main Sherpa, and Dan O'Reilly was with me, and I didn't want to go to. I was like the last bit up Kalapatar, which is just a snow mountain. It's easy snow. Have you been in it?
Yes. Yeah.
And
up beyond Gorgshep.
And it had been but everybody was gone from the mountain. There'd been a big snowstorm, so we were all alone, deep snow all the way up. And I got to the stage when it was like two concrete block tied to each leg. I couldn't move anymore, and I liked the idea of sort of being on my own. And we got near the top. There was a boulder near the top, and I gave Dan O'Reilly my camera to take more pictures, and they went down to the summit about 30 minutes from the summit, and I just sat there, and that was one of my best moments ever, looking up at Everest with the plume coming off.
With the plume coming off, and if you can get there early enough to see the sun coming up.
We saw the sunrise on our way up. It was a fantastic sight, and then I spent about half an hour or so sitting on that rock, and I thought it was one of the best. I said, in fact, when I started down on my own, I said, it'd be a good place to die. If you had to die, you couldn't die in a more beautiful, all that, the panorama of the mountains in the sunshine.
It is,
I spent a good 2 hours then walking down towards Corachek on my own. I was slightly worried because it was in the dark when we came up. I wasn't sure it was the right way. And
it flattens out though nicely, doesn't it?
And it was an easy walk down. It was only when I turned near the end, and it was near Gorchek, I kind of looked back up and I saw a dark figure moving very fast. It was Dan O'Reilly, making sure I was okay coming down. But that was that was one of the great moments
Yeah.
of my life, I think. And I think of, so in a way, yeah, it's hard to remember. That was really the extreme mountain experience, you know, that I had.
Yeah.
I can't remember now when. I must say I did find, when I climbed Mont Blanc,
Yeah.
we had a very funny experience on Mont Blanc. We met the night. Robbie was very good at making sure everything was done right, and he, even though Peter and I were very experienced with crampons and the rest of it, he still took us out onto the glacier just to play around with. But both of us were no problem with us how we used crampons on ice. But he wanted to make sure we were okay, which we were. I was 73, but Peter was still quite young. He's 15 years younger than me, and then we did a pre climb up the Midi.
Yes.
Someone I know that I met said, "Oh yes, I climbed Mont Blanc as well." I said, "Did you? Which way did you go?" Oh, he said, we went up in the chairlift." Yes, that was the Midi. That was Mont Blanc. He thought he had climbed Mont Blanc. Anyway, he brought us up there, and we did more. We were going to climb Mont Blanc from that side.
Yes.
And that was his plan, but there was a warning of avalanche.
Yeah.
And Robbie could be very mountain conscious,
yes.
and as a professional guide himself,
oh yes, yeah,
he knew. So he decided, no, we'll go the ordinary route.
Yeah.
And but in the last we did a small climb. I can't remember the name of the little mountain, and we met two young English guys, and they were both Royal Marine Commandos. One was one had one alpine experience, and the other had none. And we kind of half got chatting to them because Robbie wanted to introduce me to a French guy, who was an extreme alpinist.
Yes.
This guy in his 40s. He did the 3 North Faces in 24 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
Parachuting off the summit.
Wow.
Solo climbed all North Faces. If ever the guy was looking for death, it was him.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
And he was a very strange man.
Wow.
But Robbie knew him.
Yes.
He was a guide as well, showing you French. But the two young English guys kind of sidled into the conversation at some stage. Yes. Or I think they both realised that, particularly when Robbie and we were climbing Mont Blanc, now they didn't ask to join us on Mont Blanc.
Yes.
But after a while, it was kind of obvious they were going to climb Mont Blanc. Yeah. So they were going to. So they actually were following us. And we stayed in the Valo hut, and after about an hour, the Valo hut was filled with ice, freezing cold, and in comes the two Royal Marine Commando guys, and they joined us, and they came behind us, you know. But they didn't ask to join us, but they were following us.
Just followed us up,
which was quite all right.
Okay. Yeah, but they weren't guided, I suppose.
They were young. So. They were both young lads, and it was only the second time in my life I got altitude sickness near the summit. I got it. Last time I got it was in the Rothery. A long time before. Otherwise, I never got it.
Yes.
Whereas Robbie had got it in the Himalayas, and I never got it. And Peter never got altitude sickness anywhere. But I got a really bad dose of it, and so Robbie decided that we climbed the Twin Bosses, and which is just snow. And Robbie decided he'd make a snow hole for me and put me in the snow hole. And I decided that was like being put into a grave. I said, "Bugger this, I'll go on." And I was sick as a dog. Going up the last little bit, and it was the last section is really beautiful because it's kind of a narrow edge of snow. It's easy snow, but I was sick. I kept occasional vomit, and there was just no way of stepping off the snow. One side was a big cliff, and the other was a steep slope. And we met a French guide coming towards us, coming down with his client, and he gave out stink to me, to get out of the way. And I refused to move. And Robbie attacked him in French. He said, "This man was climbing before you were born." And that was kind of nice. So I still wouldn't move.
Yeah.
So he had to move. His clients moved around. And when we got to the top, the two English guys appeared, and one of them, the youngest guy who'd never been in a mountain before, he put his arms around me and said, fucking hell, you're 50 years older than me.
Yes,
I thought that was really nice, you know.
And you were never kind of going to take Diamox or anything like that, or
Which?
Diamox or anything like that for altitude, you know?
No, I never did.
Yeah.
No, the first time I had altitude sickness was the Freshfield Pass in the Rothery.
Yeah.
And it was only 15,000 feet high. But again, I'd been living in Uganda for nearly 2 years at that stage. And we were living at 4,000 feet.
Yeah.
So I should have been climatized a good bit.
Yeah.
But obviously wasn't.
Yeah.
And the other two, I mean, I was the leader. The other two had no experience. And we'd all the African porters with us. But fortunately, there was a hut nearby, a small hut, and at the famous lake. And I just went to bed for 24 hours.
Yes.
And the others nobody could move because I was the leader.
Yeah.
But I recovered completely from it, you know.
No,
but it was horrible,
it
was really
piercing
sick,
a headache in the front of your
horrible,
head.
I couldn't move,
Like that can happen
it was really awful.
Yeah.
And the only second time I got it was that, but to a lesser extent on Mont Blanc.
Yeah.
That's literally the only time I ever.
Yeah.
Whereas Robbie, when we did the Everest thing, Robbie got very sick going up to Nam's Bazaar. In fact, even before that.
Wow. Yeah.
For the first big temple is what's the name of it?
Yeah.
Ten Bosch, is it?
Ten Bosch.
Yeah, Ten Bosch. Yeah. He got. He was quite sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a long experience of climbing, you know.
Yeah.
And all the others all got it at various stages, you know.
Yeah.
Paddy O'Leary's sister Jane, she got it really badly, and there were two young English women with us as well, and one of them got it really bad. Had to put her into one of the oxygen things, you know.
Yeah.
Had to pump oxygen into her.
Yeah.
Robbie was very well organised. He was really good.
Yeah, it's amazing how it affects people all the same.
Yeah.
Some people doesn't affect it all now.
So that was my Mont Blanc one was much less.
Yes.
The one I had in the ruins already was pretty awful, you know. Yeah. But the others couldn't move.
You know, so they're stuck with
they were afraid to go anywhere. We just had a few, and the African porters we had and guide, they'd never gone up to the snow line, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
So they wouldn't know where to go. But fortunately, at that time, very bad weather.
Yeah.
And it started to snow very heavily when we were there, and when we got up in them, when I got feeling okay to move.
Yes.
The place was covered in snow, from way below the glacier.
Yes. Yeah.
And we did an awful job trying to find this small hut, triangular thing like that. We had to find that, which is up at the edge of the Lane Glacier, and the porters had never been to it, so we had to find it ourselves. They kind of left us, and where we'd meet them the following couple of days. Yeah. And in the mist, we did find it.
Yes.
We were very glad to get into it at that stage, and we were in it for 2 days.
Really? Yeah.
Couldn't get out of it.
Wow.
Because it snowed. Hard to believe, right on the equator, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
It got so cold. And 3 of us in someone tiny. We didn't kill each other. I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, I suppose what are priorities at that stage?
Exactly. Yeah. And then the weather changed just like that, you know. And we did I was driven at that stage. There's no way that I was going to not climb.
Oh yeah, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, you get so far, and you say to yourself, "God, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to finish it off."
We did,
and you know, you do. I mean, you know, you put one foot in front of the other, and you keep going, and you make it in the end.
No, I was determined that I was going. This was going to be done, and we did. We did all the main peaks, four main peaks. We did all 4, and but the guide, the African guide, was just through the forest, you know, on the way up. But now I think they've almost got a boardwalk up part of it. Yeah.
Most of
there's nothing.
All these trekking routes are the same.
Yeah, in our day you had to have a guide because you had this horrible bog place you had to go through, which was really now I believe there's a boardwalk over that. Yeah.
It's like most things now,
Yeah.
isn't it? They're all
Yeah.
they've all the paths changed, and
Yeah.
they're working on them. Even up going along the Himalayas there, and you'll see them. They have people there full time repairing the paths. You know.
Yeah. But we were very lucky in the Himalayas that I believe that when you did Kalapatar, was there snow on it?
No.
Yeah, and I believe there's crowds of people on it. Kind of black earth. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's you know, when you're walking along, it depends upon what time of year you go.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like ants along the trail.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can describe it.
Yeah.
So
we were so lucky.
Yeah.
We got it completely to ourselves. That was a miracle. I mean, the snow was a metre deep.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I remember when I came down on my own all that time, there was just our footprints on the way. Someone had been up before us because it was already we could see the footprints in the snow, and it was what's his name, Kavanagh, Murray, John Murray. John Murray was with us, and he was only barely just out of the Gorbachev or Gorbachev.
Yeah.
He was just barely out of it with our lights, headlamps on, and he got really sick.
Yeah.
And he had to go back.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was just ended up with just Peter and I and Robbie and Dan O'Reilly, and that was what made it. That we just had the whole mountain to ourselves. I think that was a miracle.
Yeah, you're very lucky.
All the way up and all the way back down again. You know, it was really terrific. And when we came all the way from the summit from Kalapatar back down to Parichi, I think it was. Yeah. Where's the big flat plain.
Yeah.
And Peter and I were so exhausted when we even got down onto the flat, and the porter, the other porters came. Several of them came running up from Parichi and took our bags and helped us down. And we came in and we couldn't eat.
Yes.
Both of us just fell into our bunks.
Yeah.
I've never been so tired.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you sleep anywhere, won't you?
So wrecked. But that was, I would put that as my.
Yeah.
And we were so lucky. It could have been because Everest is just. When I hear people talk about climbing Everest, to do that now. Paddy O'Leary has this great slide when he talked one of his lectures of this enormous crowd of people all tied to a rope.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it going near.
No,
Mount Everest should never.
There's so many other mountains, and you know, you never hear of people going down to places like the Caucasus and places like that where there's so many different mountains.
Yeah.
You know,
but you hear them, and they're paying 60,000 just for boasting rights in the. I feel the same way about Kilimanjaro. You hear people talk.
Absolutely.
I climb Kilimanjaro. Kilimanjaro is it's standalone, and it isn't even high.
Yes.
Because it starts at 5,000 feet. And we drove up. You can drive up to a car park. Quite a bit. We drove up with our baby, and then we put the baby into a rucksack, and we started to walk up another hour or so up Kilimanjaro, and then got tired, bored stiff. We walked back down, and when people hear about, I climbed Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa, and it isn't really, because it starts at 5,000 feet, which means it's actually 15,000 feet high. And also, you probably drive up. You know, if you're with a party, you drive up a couple of thousand feet anyway. You know, to it, and anyway. And also, the danger on that is danger of altitude sickness.
Yeah,
you know?
it is absolutely. Yeah, when you drive up, and you've never been up on mountains.
But I hate that new thing now about, we climbed the highest mountain in the world, climbed the 7 highest.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I think
no.
I don't think our early climbers were not doing that.
No, they weren't about that at all.
Yeah, we weren't. Yeah. It wasn't. There was a bit of competition around rock climbs, in a sense that first ascents. Yeah. Particularly, you wouldn't be boasting about it, but you'd be delighted to do a first ascent.
It's almost a personal achievement.
Yeah, or achievement. But we weren't doing the top rock climbs in Ireland all in 1 24 hours. None. Yeah. Although, in fact, Niall Rice initiated the whole Lug Walk fast thing, going down to Lug and back running back again. Yeah. But that was somehow different in a way. There's too much of that stuff about and I just heard it again recently, somebody boasting. He was quite a young man. and his dream was to do a solo climb on Everest.
Yes. Yeah.
You could. I don't think you could do a solo climb on Everest.
Yeah. Well, it's extremely dangerous.
Yeah, and anyway, you wouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah.
Anyway, you have to pay.
Yes.
You have to pay.
Well, once you go in at all in Mount Everest, you have to pay the fees.
Exactly. Yeah. And I remember
trekking fees or whatever.
We did have to. We did have to pay. I think Robbie had some kind of. And we were around at the time of the Maoists were still active, because my son Colin, he did the same kind of Everest trek.
Yeah.
And he was ahead of his group, and he met Maoists with guns.
Yes.
On the track. And he said he had a great chat with them. They were showing him their guns.
Yeah.
I think that was typical Nepalese. The Nepalese were so friendly.
Yeah. So listen, it's been brilliant talking to you. And thanks very much for that. And I'll sure look at it.
Yeah.
I'll stop this now.
If there's any more you want to do, you can give me a ring. Yeah.
I will.